I really, the Gracie Barra is my team for a reason, because I connected through all those principles that I have been sharing
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Master Carlos Gracie Jr. is my master. His dad was the person who created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He adapted the Jiu-Jitsu to the Brazilian style that made all this boom that what it is tonight nowadays.
Right.
And Carlos Gracie Sr., he was very evolved person. He was very like a guru, and he saw something in Jiu-Jitsu.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Braulio. And Braulio, first of all, thanks for taking the time. How's everything going these days?
Thank you very much, Ola Martin, my man. It's been a very amazing journey, and I was really looking forward to share with you. I was really excited to come in on your podcast, and well done with the work you guys are doing. It's very good for the world.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. You're doing a lot of great stuff yourself, and I mean, like at the end of the day, you're going to be the main person here. We're going to cover a lot about your journey. A little bit of some of the things you've done, a little bit of your lessons as well. I think it's always important to talk about the lessons, the tips, the insights that are happening in people's career. At the end of the day, that's the best way to learn. After all,
man.
So
the invisible parts, right? the underneath of the iceberg, because we see just the tip of it, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes this can distract a lot of people on their journey, because sometimes they focus on something that's quite the result or the consequence of what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's spot on. It's like you're covering the 90 extra percent, of what's under the iceberg, right?
That's correct.
Well, I mean, like we only have about 30 minutes, so let's see how far down the iceberg we're able to go. But we'll depend on some of it. So why don't we just start, from I guess in a sense from the beginning, right? Talk a little about your journey in martial arts, how it all began, but also a little bit, I guess, how your passion for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, came to life. Talk a little about, how this all started for you.
Well, my beginning of the martial arts was quite very random at first. My dad put me into judo because now, as I have two kids, and one of them resembles a lot like myself, and I couldn't understand why he put me in the martial arts. To first to learn how to respect, to get the discipline, to exercise, and also to calm down a little bit, waste the energy in that. So since when I started, I kind of very, felt that it was a good thing for me. And I've always wanted to be a sportsman. But when I was, after 2 years of training, when I was 11 years old, my sensei in judo, he passed away in an accident. And that was really a big bucket of ice on myself. And I got a little disheartened, and then I started I didn't want to train with no one. I really liked him. And I started training football with the Brazilian dream of being a footballer, as we all. And, but I was very aware that I felt a lot more happiness and more complete when I was doing sports all my childhood. So I did all kinds of sports, and I decided that I really wanted to be a sportsman at somehow.
Right.
So I started trying football, volleyball, and all that. And then when I was 16, I had put already in my mind that if it's by 17, I'm not going to be training at the academy in football. That means I'm not going to be a professional in football. So I put that deadline, So when I was 16, I was watching the Olympics in Atlanta, right? And I remember watching one of our judokas from Brazil, Aurelio Miguel. He got the third place in the Olympics, and this for us was like a gold medal. Like for us in judo, we always very passionate, but at the same time, we never being on the top all the time. So, and he got the medal, and that made me remind me of judo. You know what? I know what I want now. So in August, when we start the term, I'm going to train judo. As I was training judo, My friend that was my best mate when we did judo at first, when we were 9 years old,
right,
he started practicing jiu-jitsu. And he invited me, bro, you should come and check it out, jiu-jitsu. I said, no, I don't like this kind of MMA and stuff, you know. No, but jiu-jitsu is like judo, but on the ground. I said, hold on a second. If I want to be good in judo, if I'm training judo mainly on top, maybe I'll try to train on the ground to complete my game and become different in my scenario. So then I start training jiu-jitsu. Since the first time, I really enjoyed it. And then I was training jiu-jitsu to help my judo. But after 8 months, I start training judo to help my jiu-jitsu. You know, so firstly, my first attraction was more to the competitive side. I'm a very competitive person, and I wanted to be something in the sport. And judo was something that I had the link from 9 years old. And then I tried, and then I felt the possibility, as jiu-jitsu was a very big, good wave, was the beginning of everything in my city. There was no other academies. There was even a black belt, you know, so it was something that called my attention. And as I was practicing, I was get to understand a lot of the lessons and of what jiu-jitsu gives you, so you can apply in life. And first of all, my confidence went out of the roof, and I start feeling that I belong to something. I belong to a family. I made amazing friends, solid friends, you know, because when we're there training, you know, someone puts you in an armbar, you know, he could break, but
no, you gotta trust them, huh?
Exactly. So the trust becomes a very big bond. Someone chokes you out, you know, potentially it could kill you, but you tap, you let it go, and vice versa. If I put someone in the choke,
you
know, he trusts me that when he taps, I'm going to let it go. So this subconsciously,
it
was a very good environment to be around. And then we create a bond, and then we stayed like as a family, and then we grew together, you know, and because I had that mindset that I wanted to be a sportsman, and some of my friends stopped, and I would be, I remember thinking, man, I would be very frustrated if when I reach 40, and I started looking back that if I had carried on, what could I have been? So that mindset, I never stopped, and it paid off.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, like, you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt champion, you know, and obviously considered one of the top, you know, Jiu-Jitsu competitors in the 2000 era, which is, you know, pretty astonishing to have that track record. Talk a little about the journey, and I guess, and process of becoming a black belt champion, you know, because I mean, like, it's a lot of work to
It
reach.
is a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and I came from a very small town in comparison to where jiu-jitsu was. You know, if you think the chances of me be able to make in jiu-jitsu, you know, it's the same probability of a person who is homeless become a multimillionaire by its own initiative. This is the equivalence, you know, and you know, that always got to me a lot, you know, because when I got to the Hall of Fame last year, I kind of like, me, why me, how, like, I'm still the same silly boy, you know what I mean? And then how? Because I've never been the most strongest of the academy. I've never been the most technical of my division, you know, but how did it happen? And then I start trying to connect the dots. What was the differential? And one thing that came to my mind was that I was really, the decision to carry on in jiu-jitsu was because I really had the passion. I developed the passion for it. I loved it. And I did production engineering for 3.5 years. But not because I loved engineering, it was because the diploma would give me a good salary. You know, and then I was doing jiu-jitsu on the side, and I was doing kind of amateur level, you know. I could see the potential, because I could see that coming from that small city that there was no even a black belt around. I was able to because I noticed that if you really love what you do, things on the up, everything is fine, right? It doesn't matter if you love or not, but on the downs of life, if you love what you do it anyway, you know, and that's what I felt. On the hard times, I chose jiu-jitsu to be my stress relief.
Right.
And by choosing jiu-jitsu on the good times and on the bad times made me choose jiu-jitsu all the time. So it made me carry on and passing through. And I remember when I went to, I got a little cocky at first. No, I would say I've never been cocky, but I would say over myself a little bit when overconfidence.
Right.
When I was a white belt, 3 stripes, and I wanted to. There was a seminar, and then it was on a Friday night, and I remember that seminars is when people get the belt, and I was the one. I was feeling that I was be the one to get the next belt because I was beating everyone in my belt, right? Because I used to go to train so I can beat others to get validation, so I can get to my next stage. So I was okay, man. It's impossible if I don't get my blue belt. I even bought my blue belt and put on my bag, just left beside. So I already expected high expectations to the fullest. And then in the end, my coach didn't give him the blue belt. I said, what? No, something's wrong. Maybe he didn't notice me. So I passed in front of him and I made eye contact until I made eye contact. So when I made eye contact, he goes, hey, Braulio, how are you? You okay? I see you tomorrow. I said, damn it. He saw me. So I'm not getting it, right?
Right.
And that was one of the biggest lessons. I was 16 years old. This was in 96. And I remember that I went back home walking, completely pissed off and disappointed, frustrated. And I got home, I went to the shower, threw my belt, threw my gi. You know what? I'm not doing this anymore because I'm not. Come on, how come I don't deserve that?
Right.
How come I beat all the white belts?
Yeah.
And I beat even some of the blue belts sometimes. Why can't I get the blue belts? Is it the world against me? So I stopped. I told myself I'm not training anymore. That thought process got me 3 days for the first time since I started training jiu-jitsu. I didn't train jiu-jitsu for 3 days consecutive. That was the very first time. But on the third day, I was itchy to come back. I missed my friends. I missed the atmosphere. I missed training jiu-jitsu. I miss that, you know, the energy expand, like the training, the grind. But also, I understood that I made a drama, right? I went there, make the whole this drama. So I had the first biggest conversation with myself to get into terms. And I like to be very honest with myself in everything I do, because then I can trust me. So, this, when I was 16 years old, that time, I had this first main conversation that made a huge change in my life. You know, because when I felt the itch to come back in training, but at the same time, I knew that 3 days ago, I made all that drama. I had to get into terms with myself, because I am always trying to be honest with myself, so I can trust myself. Because honesty leads to trust.
Right.
And if I don't trust myself, how can people trust me? You know? And so I came into terms, and I said, a little talk to myself, and I said, listen, brother, okay, so you want to go back in training, hey? Yeah, I want to go back in training. I miss it. So if you want to go back in training and you don't get your blue belt, are you going to make all that drama that you did three days ago, crying because you didn't get your blue belt? No, that's not going to happen, promise. So let's go back in training. No. So, okay, so if in a few months you don't get your blue belt, you're not going to do the same. Good. So, but you got very upset because you didn't get your blue belt. Right. What did you do until then that you thought you deserve? And so, well, I was beating everyone.
Right.
So did this give you the blue belt? No. So what is on your control? Can you go there and put a blue belt yourself and step into the academy? Of course not. Can you ask your professor, your coach, to give you the blue belt? Of course not. So what is in your control? What can you do? You want to go back and train. So what you need to do to be able to be fine for you to keep training.
Right.
And then I decided then that for the first time, I am going to go there and train to be as good as I could ever be. And in my mind was, I will focus on my self-improvement to the point that will be undeniable that I deserve the blue belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So as soon as I shift that mindset, the first day when I stepped into the academy, I had no pressure whatsoever on my shoulders because I didn't have for the first time, I didn't try to train to impress my professor.
Right.
I trained for the first time for me.
Yeah.
That was a very big change of my mind that I brought with me up until the higher level, because you can only control what you can do, right? And once I made the choice to get as good as I could ever be, I automatically wasn't afraid of try something new or try to explore something that I knew that I wasn't as good as some others, because I no longer had the pressure that I cannot lose.
Yeah.
So therefore, I open up my range of chances and possibilities by dealing with my ego in a way that if I try something and didn't work, at least I know the reason why it didn't work. And I know because I was trying something new. At the same time, I'm putting myself out there to explore that area.
Right.
And my jiu-jitsu went skyrocketing because I start being more confident and comfortable in different areas after a few months.
Right.
And therefore, I got my blue belt within 3 months after that, you know. But it's just because looking now as a professor, when I look, by beating someone else, it's not about beating someone else or losing to someone else to show where you are leading,
right?
But how you beat them and how you lose to them.
Yeah.
Because if you are beating someone and doing something that this will get to a point that's not gonna no longer be used because you're using maybe power, maybe using your youth, maybe using your flexibility in the wrong way, maybe you're just being very, not with no foundation.
Sure.
That I know that this will lead to a big wall that you cannot break through. If you spend time just doing that, you're gonna get to a point that you're gonna get to the plateau. Right. Whereas I see nowadays my students as, even though they are losing in the game because the guy is better or stronger, but at the same time he's trying to do the right thing. So I know that if he carries on like that, eventually he'll break through, because you need to go through the struggles. You have to feel on your skin, it's like the metamorphosis of the butterfly, the caterpillar. When they go to the cast, before break the cast, you cannot help open the cast.
No.
Because you help the cast, they didn't pump the blood to the wings, so they're gonna be an easy prey. So that's what I like to see. And when I start connecting the dots, this was the first thing that made a huge difference on my career that I brought with me, to be honest with yourself, so you can trust yourself and don't focus on anybody else apart from having people around you as a reference, but not as a target, so you can become a better version of yourself.
So sounds like a big turning point, in life.
Was.
And so sometimes, I mean, like, you had that at 16. I mean, like, that's also in a sense quite early though, right? And to some degree, right?
Yes, I think because of I was very fortunate in that my dad had a very big impact of myself for myself in terms of integrity, in terms of values, and I don't like lies, so I do like honesty.
Yeah.
And if I don't see the thing with the real eye, and if I try to avoid it or try to make an excuse or try to blame someone, I'm not being honest, right? So if I say, the professor didn't see me, he doesn't like me, or he's stupid, or you know what I mean, I could carry on on that mindset. But when it happened, I had to figure out, okay, cool, I was sure that I was going to be a blue belt, but in the end of the day, I didn't get my blue belt. Why?
Right.
Why didn't I? So if I was lucky that I had something that I really love doing it and I missed it, so it can put me in the corner to take the decision.
Right.
Because of my integrity, I wouldn't like to go back and react the same way that I acted 3 days ago, because then I'll feel stupid and I wouldn't be honest with myself. You know what I mean? So I think
for sure
was the reason.
So obviously you've been performing at the highest level over a long time, and both on and off the mat. What have been some of your key lessons along the way? I mean, like, I know you touch a lot about honesty, trust to yourself, and just that mindset. But is there anything else that you kind of learned along, like especially being so long, over at the highest level?
Yes, I think in jiu-jitsu, it's an individual sport.
Yeah.
But you need your partner to train.
Right.
You need to have someone that to make you better, and you bounce back, make each other better.
Yeah.
And other thing that was very important was, another thing was very important was the understanding the importance of sharing. The sharing, it was a big thing for me, because I started realizing when I start teaching or helping early stages, even though if I didn't know much, maybe even things that I used to teach when I was a purple belt to help, not necessarily worked today anymore, but just because I took the conclusion by trying to explore and sharing. So I was all the time, because I was very early stages, like after 2 years of jiu-jitsu, I became the most senior of my academy. Remember, there was no black belts. The highest grade, that was a purple belt, which was Zé Radiola, that was the owner of the academy. And we grew in the same level. He has 10 months older the jiu-jitsu than I am.
Right.
So we connect with the Gracie Barra, which is in Rio de Janeiro, which is 2.5 hours away by airplane. That was the closest black belt to us.
Wow.
Right. So I didn't have the opportunity to train with black belts. I only trained with people below me. So as I was the most senior competitor of our academy, I used to go to train. When I used to compete in Rio, I used to spend as much as possible time to train and connecting with the team, with my age group. And I try to absorb like a sponge as much as possible, so I could come back home and practice and share with everyone else, so they become more challenging, right? And then that was one of the very important thing that made me go from that homeless towards that way. Because and a lot of people, sometimes they don't appreciate the importance of sharing, because sometimes they already had it anyway. And then naturally they share, and naturally like people sharing with them, and so become like that laboratory after classes, training, sharing, and become something that's become the normal. But I didn't have that, and I realized that if I didn't share to my friends and my training partners, I wouldn't start to understand in deeper way whatever I was teaching. And the more I understand in a deeper way what I was teaching, I start taking my own conclusions of how improve that. Because if you have the real intention to teach with making a difference on someone else's journey, with the purpose that, man, this is exactly what I am trying to do, and this is exactly what works for me. Try to figure out how it works for you. And then some people go, yes, but what about this? What about that? And I go, oh, yes, right. How about that? I'll go, how about that? And then I have, and I start learning more
Right.
in depth. And I carry on that with me, and then that's why I think explains a lot the biggest the biggest stars of our generation. That was a big jump. Where when we were in that generation, we couldn't see that jump. We all could see the gods competing up there, and it's very far. But I came to Birmingham in UK.
Yeah.
As a brown belt. I wasn't even a black belt. Roger Gracie, which is the greatest of all times, my best mate, he came to in the same period of time. So he was in London and I'm in Birmingham. We see each other once a week, but 90% of the time we train with our students that are white belts and blue belts with the level of the UK level.
Right.
Marcelo Garcia went to New York. And us three, we became kind of a good reference of people who came from being training abroad without training, but we made it. And that was the reason, because we spend a lot of the time of our day sharing. And that's the proof that if you share with the intention of making a difference, you end up getting to more understand of the subject deeper way.
Right. No, it makes a total sense. And I mean, like it's a really valuable lesson that you're bringing up. So obviously we're moving on, and you're already touching a little bit on some lessons, some your journey, of course, more specifically. But talk a bit about how martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has impacted your life, but in that sense more to the structural rules, the mindset that are being pushed out in these sports, and the mentality that goes on it.
Yes, I mean, I take a lot of what I learned in principles in jiu-jitsu, and I have been crossing with my life experience outside of the mats.
Yeah.
And I start somehow because I like to observe a lot, and I try to kind of correlate things and try to figure out the common denominator on things. And I believe that every success story has the core of the success story has that is a common denominator, and I noticing that, and then I start applying things that I learned that was successful in jiu-jitsu, try to apply in life. And also because I have been living life. I believe that I live a very good life. I traveled a lot. I learned a lot with traveling, and through applying the integrity, the values, and I also try to transfer the things that I learned in life into jiu-jitsu, and I improve my jiu-jitsu. It's all about the mindset. For example, in jiu-jitsu, like we learn how to be comfortable on a very uncomfortable situation, because you're there every day. You understand that if you don't panic, there will always a way out. You understand that if something just happened, you cannot go back in time. You don't, as long as you don't let it get worse. So you stick the game. If the referee didn't stop the match, the time didn't run out, you're still on the match. If you didn't tap out, you're still on the game. In life, if you didn't die, you're still on the game.
You're still there, right?
If you're alive, you're still there. So, and then we learn how to deal with a very difficult situations, but we're using the common sense for you to be on the game. And every time that you panicked, every time that you did the wrong step, you end up tapping and you end up dying, and it's over. And then the beauty of it is that you have always the second chance in a match. You always put yourself there many times. The time you can give it a try of something different. And the more, because if you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, you cannot expect a different result.
It's the definition of insanity, right?
Insanity, like Eisen said. So that kind of, those things are correlated. See that? Eisen's talking about life, and I'm talking about jiu-jitsu, and complete put in practice. And the beauty of it is because you are feeling right there the consequences, because it's there happening right now, specific moment. You need to be very present. You cannot be thinking about your problems. You have to be right there. Jiu-jitsu is a problem-solving game, you know. So when you start kind of open up your mind for that methodology of mindset, you will be able to kind of break down your actual next step for the common sense, not because you feel like it or you want it to, because fight is between two people. It's not about what one person wants all the time. You need to deal with people's actions, reactions, right? And in every step, in every moment in jiu-jitsu, you can only control what you can do 100%. You only control what are your intentions. I never gonna really know what is the full intentions of my opponent. I can feel what he's doing it, but I'm never gonna really know what the real intention behind. But if every step that I do, I'm always prepared for the worst case scenario. If the good case scenario happens, I'm good. If it happens, I'm good. And if the worst case scenario happened and I'm prepared, I'm good. Because in every moment, I have the ability to decide to do something or not. It's up to me, because I can do nothing about it. I can do something right, or I can do something wrong. It's down to me. It's down to me if I am trying with the good intentions, the right intentions, or the wrong intentions. It's up to me. So that intention will dictate what's going to lead the consequence. At the same time, my opponent also has the choice to do nothing about it, what I'm doing, do something right, something wrong. But he is the one that has the intentions to control. And then if I'm ready for the worst case scenario, I'm always going to be ahead.
But I think I really enjoy kind of like your talk here about like second chances, right? Like you always have a second chance. And I mean, like life is, you know, it's a lot of second chances, right? Like things will always come up. Like you will have pressure, you will have challenges, but you know, you got to keep moving. You know, there's always a second chance.
Correct. And I believe that myself personally, extremism, you know, I think that I believe that everything to work nicely in an environment is about the balance. You need to find the balance. So like when it comes to politics, if you're too right or too left, that will be missing something. So if you're not willing to try to understand the other side of the coin, you cannot find the balance. It's very difficult because you will be very close-minded. You know what I mean? So with jiu-jitsu, one thing that last year I was kind of analyzing. I said, "Oh man, that's such a good thing that I never thought about it." Because for me, jiu-jitsu is a game, is my passion, is that challenge, is that game that I want to, you know, that puzzle. There is that problem solving. The guys try to do something against me, that I'll try to block it, and I want to do something against him. If you stop to see, let's talk about bad intentions and good intentions in life. You know, some people, sometimes they come and do something with good intentions, sometimes with bad intentions, and then we're never gonna know. We're just gonna find out when the consequence happens, when the result comes, right? So if I am prepared for the worst case scenario, if I can feel always what my deck gonna lead, I will be in a better place to deal with that situation. But look at that, Soler Martin. In the jiu-jitsu, when I train with someone, even though I love my team, I love my partners, you know, we train together, we brothers pretty much. But during the game of the jiu-jitsu, I am exercising the I wouldn't say it's not the evil mindset, but it's like the bad intentions towards him mindset. I try to manipulate him. I try to put him in a position that he cannot get out. I'm trying to trick him. I try to deceive him. I try to put him in check so he cannot do nothing against me.
Right.
But in jiu-jitsu, but your mind developed with that, figuring out on how to stop anything that he can do against me, but I do against him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I become a master manipulator in jiu-jitsu. But the mindset, how you perceive, how you position yourself, how you place yourself in life, when I see someone showing some signs of it, I go, oh, okay, but what if I want to be prepared for the worst case scenario here, just in case, because if he does something that I'm not controlling, I will be fine. So that kind of mindset helped me a lot to figure out the balance.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Because when you're too good, people tend to take advantage of you, right? And when you're too bad, you go out of the spectrum too. So remember, when you can do nothing right or wrong, and you can be in a place that I have to, every moment that exists in life, you should be aware of learning the lesson. And example, if I am bullied in school, I didn't do nothing wrong, right? Someone bullied me.
Yeah.
I know how it felt. I know the consequence of the bulliness happening. Now it's up to me to learn from that. When I grow up, am I going to be the bully and make someone else feeling what I felt then? Or you going to grow up and say, you know what? I didn't like what I felt because someone bad bullied me and I learned the lesson. And you evolve, you become a better version of yourself. Or you are watching and experiencing two people, one bullying each other, and then you see what happened to what the bully did, what was his consequence for him, and you know the consequence for the person who was bullied. So you didn't do nothing, but you could learn from that. And also, you could learn by being the bully. You bully someone, and it's up to you, though, because in the end, it's only be up to you if you want to do nothing about it, right or wrong.
Right.
It's always like that. So if I bully someone, I saw the consequence. Was this good or bad? You know, look what happened to the guy. Would you like this to be done to yourself? Would you like someone to come and do what I'm doing to the guy? Why am I doing this to the guy? So this kind of lessons is correlated in a way to what you can take as learning from the consequence of each actions that exist. And then you start trying to trim down towards to the best way as possible to become the best version of yourself, you know?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to you, you know, and like how you evaluate your situations. I mean, like, and I mean, like, so I'm probably going to ask a question, which a lot of fans here that are watching you or like that knows jiu-jitsu and stuff are going to probably hate me for, because I don't know the sport. But we've been talking about, you know, judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like in a very kind of, how can I say, more of a mental aspect, right? We talked a lot about everything, how you evaluating the process, like the mindset around it and structure. But what we haven't really talked about is like, how is the sport actually being performed, right? Like what makes judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu different? Like what is unique about Brazilian jiu-jitsu? Because I mean, like, honestly, I have no idea. So I feel like there might be some people here that like, but actually what is it and what's the difference, you know?
So it's pretty much judo and jiu-jitsu, they are very similar overall, but the rules made the jiu-jitsu to explore and spend more time on the ground grappling because of the rules. Example, most like 90% of the movements that can be done in jiu-jitsu can be done in judo. Very similar. They wear the same uniform, the kimono or gi or however you call it. And the objective is to grab the opponent and try to end the fight, right? But the rules in judo, if I take you down with your back flat on the mat, the fight ended. So why do I gonna spend time training the ground when if I put you in the back, it's gone? And this is, I see very much how things leads in life. It's all what you focus on. You become good at it. So That's why when I started in judo, I wanted to use jiu-jitsu just in case when I went to the ground, I was a little bit more sharper than most of people because I spent multiple time on the standing part.
Yeah.
And then the same thing when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I started using judo to help me. So when I am on the top, I know how to behave and deal. In jiu-jitsu, because when you fall, it doesn't matter how you fall, with your back on the ground, with your butt on the ground, the fight carries on. You just get 2 points. So if I train 100, if I put a lot of effort on takedowns, and I do the most beautiful takedown, the guy falls down, I only got 2 points, and the fight goes on.
Yeah.
So you need to get more awareness and more going depth, understanding the ground fighting, so you know how to survive and how to control. It's just the rule, but basically it's submissions, hold, pins. You get points in jiu-jitsu for pass guards. In judo, if you hold the person for 20 seconds with on the ground, even if I didn't take you in the ippon, for example, ippon is the highest takedown in judo. Let's say if I took him in koka is the first point, then vazari, that the one before the ippon. So if I do a vazari on you, the game is still on. So if I hold the person pin for 20 seconds, I win the fight. In jiu-jitsu, holding 20 seconds is just like no even one tenth of the fight. You know what I mean? So it's and then what leads you when you are training for judo, if I can hold in the right way or in the wrong way someone for 20 seconds, even if he's about to escape and get in a very bad position for me that he could choke me after 25 seconds, but if I held him for 20, I won, even though if the position that the guy was going to lead to the end of me. So in jiu-jitsu, we go, I feel that's a little bit more realistic in a way that if in a longer fight, you have to be careful on how you position yourself, because if you get out, now he's in a position that he can get you. But I like both. I think both.
It's good to kind of like just understand the separation and the differences that are there, and like also the similarities, right? And I think it makes sense as well to kind of like segue here to our next question, which we're gonna talk about why and how, in your opinion, I guess, in a sense, why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is so important for kids, and especially tying that into the pillars, martial arts, like respect, hierarchy, discipline. But also, I mean, like, I think we kind of need to touch upon, so 2 ways. Obviously, one, why is it important for kids to kind of learn this quite early? And second of all, how can, an adult, benefit from it, even if they start, in their 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, just kind of separating these two a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for kids, I think it's a very, very important. And judo as well.
Martial
arts.
I
think equally martial arts. Yeah, because when you go to school when you're a kid, if you see when there is any argument or kids fighting, like when it comes down to the hierarchy of the school, I'm the guy, I'm the cool guy, you are the loser, blah blah blah. we don't, for us when we are a kid, is that little box is our universe. When you grow up, you go, dude, we are arguing for things that, look at that, we're just kids, right? We learn from that. But at the moment, it's very important for you to stand by yourself, because when you train, that's for that reason that you constantly putting yourself in those situations. If something like an altercation happens, you are comfortable, you are more confident on how to stand by yourself, for yourself, and this gives you a confidence and the way that you behave or deal with situations when you have confidence is a lot better than when you are afraid of something, because we always want to fear the unknown, right? You've never been in a situation that altercation and it happens, you freeze, you don't know what's coming. I've never been here before, but when you do that on the daily basis, you automatically become more aware, and it's not something new, so you can hold your stance better. And for the adults as well, I consider, like, I have actually I was talking to one of my students yesterday. He's like he teaches PhD in the philosophy, you know, like he teach here in the university in Birmingham. His name is Scott. He's American, and he got his purple belt in the beginning of the year. And he was talking to me, Braulio, man, like this was the best thing that I did on my 50s, you know, because it changed. And then, and then we mentioned about that situation, or how important it is for you to stand by yourself. I said, yeah, you know, like I was on a day in the gas station, and someone, I just because I was taking a little long on the pump, because who doesn't? Sometimes we do. And then the guy came rushing at me. He was kind of buff guy.
Yeah.
And when he came at me, I was already analyzing, if he come at me, what to do. I already knew what I was going to act if something happened. But at the same time, I controlled the situation, I calmed him down, but I was ready because I had that confidence, you know. And then that shows a lot when you have the understanding of the environment that you're at. When you know what that could lead, and you are always prepared for the worst case scenario, you come more, yourself can come up easily. And I also have kids that I have a guy called Akil. I remember that the first class, I mean, for the first 3 months, he didn't say a word at all. He couldn't let it out.
Right.
And I remember, because we used to do some specific trainings, and I asked the people to give themselves the number. So, okay, give us numbers from 1 to 3. So we separate the group. Okay, we got that 1, 2, 3. When it goes to he goes 1, 2. He couldn't. He didn't have it, but he had the passion that to be included in something. He loved to be around people, that be part of the family, and it's something that he can express himself, because jiu-jitsu, you express yourself the way that you are, right? And you are accepted by the way that you are too, because everyone is different. And by the end of the year, the kid cannot stop talking. He's one of the funniest guys.
What have we done? No, I'm just kidding.
What have I done? But yeah, so this kind of benefits for feeling inclusion, because kids especially, and adults, but comes from the kids, right?
For sure.
The kids, when you go to some an environment that you kind of feel a little bit out of place, or you feel like you don't have control, you feel more comfortable at home when you're in a safe environment. See, when you have too much safety and you only feel comfortable on the safety, when you put yourself out there in the world, you know, it's like we're going to the jungle, you know. And if you don't know how to stand for yourself, you get very reclusive. And if you're not accepted by people around, because have the so many dividing the tribes in school, and you know, aging, you know. So when you go to jiu-jitsu, in my case, or for martial arts, you being part of something, and then you feel that you belong, and by who you are. And this shows the principles, the importance of, first of all, just accept yourself and be honest with yourself, and then don't compare yourself with others, because everyone has attributes and flaws. So it's how you appreciate your attributes and try to work around and develop your flaws. And like, if you accept it from the beginning, you are more willing to explore the areas without punishment.
Yeah, and talk a bit about that first step, though. You know, a little bit about the story you mentioned kind of early without going too much in depth, but talk a bit about that, because I think a lot of, 18, 20, 25 years old, like usually our target group is like 18 to 35, right? And I think maybe a lot of them is just thinking, maybe like, is this something I should start? Like, maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm like, put it a little bit into context of like how this, your great story that you want to bring up.
Because I love metaphors, and I believe myself, by specializing in jiu-jitsu and break down and connect the dots on my past. You know, I can explain anything that I lived in life, or that people around me that lived in life, through jiu-jitsu, you know.
Sure.
And metaphorically talking, I like to talk. That is a story that I designed to pass it on what my journey was in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Let's suppose that we have you're going to your office, and you park your car, and you're feeling that you are in a goodwill, and you see a homeless come at you asking for some money. Excuse me, can I have €2, please, or £2 or whatever?
Right.
You don't have €2, but you are in a goodwill today, so you know what? Have 5. And the guy goes, cheers, mate, and leave. When he leave, you did it without expecting nothing back. You could have said no, but you did say yes. You go back to your office, and you go with one kind of mindset. But imagine if that person who is the homeless, when he asks for £2, you give 5, and he goes, "Are you sure, sir? I just need 2, and then no, I have 5." And oh my God, man, thank you so much. I haven't eaten a hot food for a week, and now you made my day. Thank you so much. And then he goes, you already go back home. I go back to the office. Already, he caught your attention there because he appreciated it, right?
Right.
Now, imagine that he goes when you go to the office and then you come back to go for a coffee, and you come out and you see that same homeless with the same attitude, appreciating everything. And he goes and he just finished off washing your car when you didn't ask. You go, bro, you didn't need to do that. Bro, listen, I just wanted to say thank you, because it's meant to me a lot. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to give back. Right. That guy calls even more attention to you. But imagine if that guy at first, when you give the €3 more, he goes, be as appreciative and said, oh man, you know what? It's great because now I can help John. I'm going to bring John with me to eat that food. Now he no longer just appreciating, and he also is sharing with John. And imagine if when you come back, you see him and John washing your car. And you get it what I'm saying?
Right.
That already go back and say, that guy will call your attention straight away. Because for you to come from zero, like you are homeless, you're zero, to depend on you, you need to be honest with yourself, understand the scenario, and accept the scenario, and work and do some actions with the right intentions. Because you can do nothing about it. You can do something right or something wrong. So it's on his power to accept or blame the governor, or blame the system that the world is against me. But if once you accept and you're honest and you try to act with the good intentions, you can start connect with people by appreciation and by giving back. And this is one of the things that are really be touching the dots, because in 2018, I tried to make a post of motivational post, and I put a hashtag appreciate and give back. And I'm a little dyslexic, so I didn't know if I was doing right, because every time I put, there was no autocorrect. I said, oh, no. So basically in 2018, I was the first person on earth to put the hashtag appreciate and give back. I go, hold on a second. So I know how important it was for me to connect to people, that because you never go up on your own. You need to connect. One of the most important things for me in my jiu-jitsu and in my journey, in my life, to be where I am today, coming from nothing in jiu-jitsu, was being very appreciative and very giving back and passing it on to help others too. And when I put the hashtag, and there's no even one person on the world that put the hashtag, that means people don't put in purpose to pass the message, that the importance of it. You know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of people, everyone is different in the world. There's a lot of people that they appreciate and give back naturally, but they don't call attention to the importance of it. And I figured through my journey, when I connect the points, if I wasn't so appreciative, if I wasn't just giving back, if I didn't try to help others, I would never had climbed the ladder to end up being in Birmingham in a way that I could have the opportunities that appeared to me to take my own actions with this and improve with all those mindset. And also, this is one thing that I really want to. I'm develop myself in a way that I want to pass this message with them, to pass it with the purpose. When you appreciate, when you give back, when you're honest, and when you accept, there is a chance. Because if I ask you, what are the chances of a homeless to become a multimillionaire by its own actions? You're going to say, it's almost impossible, but it's not impossible. There is a chance, 0.000000001%. But how can he start the journey? This is the first thing, because I am a homeless in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That became, I'm not multimillionaire. I forget. It's not about the money, but it's the spectrum that I came from in jiu-jitsu is equivalent.
We all make it clear it's a metaphor, but it's a really important story about giving back, right? And I think like the sport industry has a very, how can I say, like a very consistent image, especially from the leaders in the industry. They all know how hard it is to enter the sport industry, right? And probably jiu-jitsu too, and like being at the highest level, right? It's not easy, right? It's very competitive. It's hard, a lot of hard work, right? And so being able to give back, you know, it means a lot, because you can kind of relate to being in that position. And I just wanted to kind of about to wrap up here because we're running out of time. And I just wanted to talk like just very briefly, because I think we covered a lot of the things that we wanted to talk about, but very briefly here, which we haven't talked about that much, is obviously you're one of the leaders as well of Gracie Barra. What do you learned? Talk a bit about, you know, what impact, you know, Gracie Barra has had and has in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. Just talk like just a brief note on this.
I'll try to be, because I know I can talk a lot. Listen, I really, the Gracie Barra is my team for a reason, you know, because I connected through all those principles that I have been sharing here.
Yeah.
You know, Master Carlos Gracie Jr. is my master. His dad was the person who created Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He adapted the Jiu-Jitsu to the Brazilian style that made all this boom that what it is tonight nowadays. And Carlos Gracie Sr., he was very evolved person. He was very like a guru, you know, and he saw something in jiu-jitsu that was very important for life. And he used to say that if everyone in the world practice jiu-jitsu, either in training or in here, the world would be a much better place to live, right? And I truly believe that, because you learn all those things that we spoke about, right? Now, Master Carlos Gracie Jr., he is the main leader, coincidentally or not, you know, he's not the number one son or second or third or the 10th. He's the 13th or 12th, and he's the Carlos Gracie Jr. And he is the leader he was the guy that created the IBJJF, which is the association around the world that made jiu-jitsu become the biggest. Everyone in jiu-jitsu works with jiu-jitsu because of that. And he has the academy that is the biggest reference within jiu-jitsu itself. So he's leading the way, like the tree, the mother tree nourish the other trees through the jiu-jitsu, you know. So I believe the reason why is because there's a lot, the vision is beyond himself. It's jiu-jitsu that he passed it on. Is not just jiu-jitsu to be the best competitor, but it's jiu-jitsu for everyone to help people to become a better version of themselves. And then he has that desire and that vision to have one school in every city in the world, so we can place a seed of positivity in that community with the intentions to help people to live off jiu-jitsu and to help people to become a better version of themselves and pass it on and on and on. First, he created a very strong and a success story. Then he helped someone else to create also a success story. Now he helped someone else to help someone else to become a success story.
It keeps trickling, you know, it's like a trickling.
That's
snowball effect, as we call it here.
That's the snowball effect, and that's why it's so successful. And if you trace down all the principal core concept, you know, the main core values of the Gracie Barra is integrity, brotherhood, and development. So that's it really. Because of that mindset of being jiu-jitsu being more than just a sport of humble each other, with comes the philosophy to help people in life. That's why it's so successful, and people are getting to understand what jiu-jitsu can give to us.
That's awesome. Well, with that, Braulio, I would like to thank you, so much for taking the time, for sharing your stories and a lot of the mental aspect of jiu-jitsu and how important it is, in life, and like just, again, connecting the dots as you were talking about. I think we might have to set up another podcast.
Yes, for sure. I think so. We have so much to talk.
We have a lot to cover, I think, we connected dots there too.
We can cross-reference everything back.
Exactly. So, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure having you part of the podcast. And to wrap up here as well, I know you love challenges. I know you love to, challenge yourself. So we have a sporting global tradition where I got to teach you a little bit Norwegian. So.
Oh, I love that. I love learning.
There you go. So with every video we do, we always finish with Vi snakkes, which means see you later in Norwegian. So that's what you have.
Vi snakkes.
There you go. Easy peasy,
Let's go. So,
all right.
Vi snakkes.
Vi snakkes. All right. Thank you so much, Braulio.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.